Ladies and gentlemen.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen. Yo. Ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, tip your servers tonight. We've got a loud orange joke who thinks hate is inside. He says the dark part proudly, says the cruel part twice. Dan tells us we don't see what we see with our own eyes. I'm the best at words, yeah, we noticed the mess. I barely knew the guy, said the guy in the pics. It's a witch hunt! Every time he's cut, funny how the witches have the receipts he forgot. He's a bigoted clown, cause it's strength. Swears he's smart, can't even spell strength. Everyday shit posting for views, more shit to rerun on the evening news. Take our president, please. No warranty, no keys. He's loud, he's rude, he won't shut up. Emily keeps embarrassing me. Take our president, please. This joke's gone on too long. Got the mic and the big roll credits. Move on, move on. Fake news screamed at basic math. Television's on a race from the mess he left. Very, very cool, very legal. Nothing to see. Just some flights, some friends, some mysteries. Says he loves the truth, just not the ones who die. Calls Nazis very fine and acts surprised. Sells fear, wholesale cruelty, retail. Then sues the mirror when the mirror tells. Take a president, please. Hey. We're not asking for much. Just take away the megaphone before he presses self-destruct. Take a president, please. No sequel, no reboot. This franchise sucks. We're done with you. Turn off the noise for everyone's sake. Turn off the noise for fucking fuck's sake. Hugs a flag, sells a Bible, forgets the verse. Says law and order, then breaks it first. Calls himself chosen, calls judges rigged. Calls consequences unfair when they finally hit. Every promise shrinks, every grip grows. Leopards eating faces, who could have known? He said the quiet part loud, we said that's a joke. Now the house is on fire and he's selling the smoke. Take our president, please. Take him off the mic. Take him off the news. Take him out of our lives. Take our president. No martyr, no crown, just a footnote saying, wow, that got dark. Whatever it takes, whatever is fine. Just so long as he's gone, out of sight, out of mind. 86, bitch. 86, bitch. 86, that bitch.
She's been on a few times lately, you know, on maybe 3 or 4 times that I've seen her on at least. And this is interesting because this is, they're talking about war and regime change, which I feel like is kind of up Anna's alley here.
Yeah.
And what you're going to see is she is like absolutely mystified and like horrified, actually is probably a better word, at the reaction of conservatives to this conversation. She is like stunned. She is in awe that these people are saying out loud the things that they're saying out loud. So let's take a look and we'll break it down.
I think what's ridiculous is that we're all pretending like this is about a drug war when in reality it's about a regime change war. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has a bone to pick. What they say out loud that we're supposed to pretend like we're not supposed to listen to. Marco Rubio, Secretary of State, has a bone to pick with Venezuela because he feels that they are providing material support to Cuba, and he wants regime change in Cuba because he himself is a Cuban American and doesn't like that the communist revolution happened.
I'd like to see regime change in Cuba,
but that's not our business, okay? We have people suffering here in the United States. I'm not interested in a regime change war in any country. I'm interested in taking care of our country.
She said it is our business when we have people coming into the U.S. Why do you think these people come to the U.S.? Because of U.S. sanctions and the U.S. embargo, you fucking idiot. That's why. We've destroyed their economies. That's why they come here. Duh. There's no opportunity there. Gee, why is there no opportunity there? Because they've cut off these economies from the rest of the world. That's why. Yeah. Oh my God, bro. And the other loser who goes, I'd like to see regime change in Cuba. Who are you? Who gives a fuck? Why should you have a say in overthrowing the Cuban government? Aren't you part of this country? Aren't you American? Fucking leave them alone. Jesus Christ. The entitlement. These fucking snobby ass entitled, probably rich Americans who, I sure would like that other regime to be changed. Yes, yes. Why should you have a say in any of that? Oh my God, bro. I'm gonna crash out, dog. I'm already crashing out, I think.
I'd like to see regime change in Cuba,
okay, but that's not our business.
I bet that hits hard among the fucking wealthy Cuban cocktail circuit. I bet that hits hard against all the literal criminals that were released from the Cuban jails and sent to the U.S. and became Americans. I bet that hits hard with the criminals and the aristocratic Cubans in Miami who've always wanted to overthrow the government. I bet that hits hard among them.
Okay, we have people suffering here in the United States. I'm not interested in a regime change
when
war
they are coming into the U.S.
I'm interested in taking care of our country.
When terrorists are coming into the U.S.
When terrorists are coming... Dog, I don't even know why I try, man. I don't even know why I'm doing this show. I don't even know why I'm doing this show. Did this bitch just imply or outright say that terrorists are coming from Cuba or Venezuela? Okay, if they can get you to believe that, they can get you to believe anything. You probably shouldn't be allowed to live on your own. You should have a, what's the term that they use for it? You know, the thing that Britney Spears was under, is it an executor? Is that the term for it? Somebody who, like, gets to make decisions for you because you don't have the brain capacity to do it yourself. You need one of those if you fell for that shit. Is this a reference to the, like, when Netanyahu and Mike Huckabee and all these fucking freak warmongers say, you do know there's a strong Hezbollah stronghold in Venezuela. By the way, they said about Venezuela. Nobody said it about Cuba. I mean, maybe they did because they lie about everything. But, like, there's no Hamas. There's no Hezbollah. There's no massive Iranian proxy. There's no... this reminds me, they used to say this shit all the time during, like, the Obama years. They'd be like, Al-Qaeda set up a camp just over the border in Mexico. And you're going, no, you guys don't even actually believe this, do you? You don't even actually believe... Come on. Give me a wink and a nod. Let me know that you're just doing your propaganda. You don't mean this shit, do you? There's no way, bro. She might actually be referencing that she thinks Hamas and Hezbollah are coming into this country from fucking Venezuela because Netanyahu told her so.
Howdy, folks. Hope you're all having a good one. And welcome back to the playtest of The Lift. This was a game that I featured shortly before Christmas. Well, technically not a game. This was a playtest, no longer available on Steam. The game itself is coming out this year at some point. You can wishlist it on Steam, but you can no longer install and play the playtest. So this was all recorded before Christmas. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, by the way, I'll put a link in the video description to the first video. I recommend you check that out before you watch this one, although it's not essential. You don't really need to. The basic idea is I am a janitor on some kind of station. I was in cold storage, I got revived, and, well, as you can see, things are not quite the way they should be. All these objects are destabilized. I don't even know what that means. As janitor, it's my job to fix things. And apparently something happened. I'm just the backup, Jan. I don't really know what's going on. That's kind of the point. Everything's gone wrong. Nothing works properly. Huge sections of the station don't have power. The parts that do have power are kind of, well, like these objects phasing in and out of reality. I don't know what the hell is going on, but I do know that I need to fix things. And in order to do that, I'm going to need to use the maintenance lift. It needs to be fixed because that's the only.
And Mr. Mayor, you know, after you told ICE to get the F out of the city, I've seen a lot of Republicans here in Washington criticizing those comments, saying that you're escalating tensions with that. Can you respond to them, and what do you say to them tonight, people who criticize those comments?
I'm so sorry if I offended their Disney princess ears, but here's the thing. If we're talking about what's inflammatory, on the one hand, you got someone who dropped an F-bomb, and on the other hand, you got someone who killed somebody else. F-bomb, killing somebody. I think the more inflammatory action is killing somebody. And so, once again, let's be real and just honest and straight up about what's happening here. This is not okay. The way they're coming into cities, not just Minneapolis, but around the country, is not okay. Whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, you should understand the importance of constitutional law enforcement.
Yeah.
You should understand the importance of not discriminating based on race and randomly plucking people off the street because they're Somali or Latino. And especially from what we've seen, you should also understand the importance of de-escalating tense situations, not killing people and yanking out a gun. And so, again, I'm not going to preempt the investigation. It is important that we do that. And at the same time, you know, you want to...
Not only that, let's talk about what's inflammatory. Do you think it's inflammatory when the fucking president of the United States is telling out and out fucking inflammatory lies designed to be inflammatory, lies specifically designed to incite unrest? That's not inflammatory. God damn it, I fucking hate the media.
I will say the vast majority of Democrats are pro-law enforcement, and we believe that law
Tim Walz,
enforcement...
he says they're Gestapo.
Let me finish.
He says they're Gestapo.
Scott,
Do you agree?
Scott,
Do you
let
agree?
me finish.
CNN's resident MAGA stooge, Scott Jennings, was melting down on the latest episode of Abby Phillips' show over the tragedy that took place in Minneapolis. We're going to take a look at clips from this heated panel discussion on Abby Phillips' show that included Scott Jennings and Anna Navarro. I want to share my thoughts on this as well. Let's get into it together.
Anna Navarro has joined us at the table. Anna, there were a lot of people who warned that, you know, a massive increase in ICE presence on the ground would inevitably result in American citizens being the victims of some of these encounters.
Yeah, you know, to me this day is very, very somber because I think there were so many indications that this was going to end up happening sooner or later. And it's a day where I think we need to be very sober. And I think, you know, a few things. First, we live in America. We have a right to protest. We have a right to videotape what is happening and amplify the truth. But for the videos that were taken today, we wouldn't know the truth and we wouldn't be seeing it with our own eyes and able to judge it. Also, you know, I think it's negligent that the ICE forces have been increased so quickly,
being as dishonest
and that there's people without the proper training and the proper experience. I don't know if this agent who shot this woman today, I don't know if he's one of the new recruits that got offered $50,000 and maybe has less training and experience than ICE agents regularly do. And that might have been a contributing factor to how this ended up. Maybe if it had been an agent with more experience, the response would have been different. What I do know is that there's a 6-year-old boy who's now orphaned. His father died in 2023, and today his mother got shot to death. And I think it's a time of reflection in America Protesters need to be peaceful. Protesters have every right to show up and demand accountability. But I also think our government has to be responsible in who they put out in the streets armed and the tone of what's happening with ICE. We've seen some agents really abuse power and almost relish what they are doing. We have seen pregnant women dragged through the streets. We have seen children left alone in cars. We have seen people shot. We have seen people chased like animals. Look, it's a very difficult situation, and we've got to reflect on how we do this so that it doesn't continue happening.
As you mentioned, you know, it did seem to some people that we were headed in this direction because a couple of months ago, there was an incident involving another shooting with ICE agents. They shot into a vehicle and shot a woman. Then they charged her with trying to ram the law enforcement, but those charges were dismissed by a judge in part because
for lack of evidence.
Contradictory evidence that contradicted the ICE account of what happened in that incident. And I think all of this, to Anna's point, raises questions, Michael, for me, about this pact that we have between law enforcement and the citizenry, that under normal circumstances, when you get a badge and a gun, it's a huge amount of responsibility. And that responsibility also comes with, you know, you show your face, you're accountable, you report to someone, and you also have, you know, you have rules that you abide by. And that feels like the part that's missing here with ICE, that they've decided ICE agents don't need to show their faces. They don't need to abide by some of the basic principles that regular law enforcement officers do, even though they're engaging with the population at much greater degrees than they used to. Is it a moment to think about that and think about whether that is sustainable?
I'm sure I'm not opposed to having conversations about extended training. You know, look, if one wants to raise questions about shortening training, if you're going to have agents who don't typically act in law enforcement roles, I would not be opposed to that from my experience with law enforcement, broadly speaking. But even with well-trained officers, we have seen instances where officers have to make split decisions. And sometimes it's not nice. We shouldn't jump to conclusions by calling this guy a murderer. We don't know yet. We have no clue. And I know
this is one of the things that the right-wingers always...
Well, what about the president and the head of DHS or whatever the fuck that piece of shit Kristi Noem is? What about them rushing to say, oh, this person was a domestic terrorist? You fucking puppet. You fucking piece of shit, garbage ass puppet. You fucking filth.
Always fall back on is, well, you know, had to make split-second decisions. There is video showing a doctor or a man who says that he's a doctor on the scene asking to at least check the woman's pulse. And the ICE agents won't allow him to get through. There have been reports, I believe it's Fox 9 news station in Minneapolis, that an ambulance also came in. And ICE would not allow that ambulance to go through to administer aid to the woman who was murdered. Ultimately, those aren't split-second decisions. Kristi Noem, who is heading all of this, has come out and called this woman a terrorist. That's not a split-second decision. We have Ana Navarro here at the opening of this, very calmly and rationally outlining the problems that we're seeing here with ICE in our country in holding them accountable. And we're going to see here in a moment Scott Jennings ranting and raving about the Democrats being against law enforcement. The American people are on the side of what Ana Navarro is saying. These ICE agents are thugs with masks covered. They're blocking aid from getting to a woman who is dying when one of their agents has shot and, you know, they found out later she was dead. Americans are not on the side of that. With actual law enforcement from getting to someone that they've shot.
That doesn't make me comfortable or as a human being at all. But I do believe you have to empower law enforcement officials to do their jobs while assuring that you're also protecting the constitutional rights of citizens. And that's just the way I look at this.
But this looked to me like there was something very wrong because, I mean, you know, this ICE officer shot at least 3 times that we could hear on the video with other ICE officers very close to the driver, with people all around the car, with a moving car situation happening, and which resulted into that car careening into another car and a tree, and could have caused even more death and injuries. So I think we've got to acknowledge all of those things. I saw earlier today the former mayor of Miami-Dade, Carlos Jimenez, who is now a Republican from South Florida, a congressman from South Florida, huge Trump supporter. But when he was mayor of Miami-Dade, and he's also been a fireman for over 20 years. When he was mayor of Miami-Dade, he was the chief executive of the police department. And Jake asked him how he felt about this. And he said, I'm not ready to defend the ICE officer. I have serious questions. And I think we need to take off our partisan hats, and we need to look at this with, be very cold-headed, because what we need to work on is make sure to avoid these kind of situations in the future.
Chris Murphy said Democrats cannot vote for a DHS budget that does not restrain the growing lawlessness of this agency. And increasingly, Lee, I'm hearing and seeing a lot of Democrats basically saying, back when defund ICE was a position that some liberals were taking and moderates were saying, well, that's gone too far. Now more and more so-called moderates are saying this agency is out of control. Yeah. When we retake power, we've got to do something about it. Do you think that's the right move?
I think any agency that has this much money behind them needs to have accountability, and it doesn't have that. And I think if there's any question to what Shermichael's making and what...
When Liam McGowan is talking, you shut the fuck up. Politics, girl, oh my God. Yes, queen.
When we retake power, we've got to do something about it. Do you think that's the right move?
I think any agency that has this much money behind them needs to have accountability, and it doesn't have that. And I think if there's any question to what Shermichael's making and what Anna is saying, this idea of we don't really know what happened, we don't know what the officer was thinking in this moment, it might come down to training, it might not come down to training, it looks like this, it looks like that. At the end of the day, she was pulled out of the car, and she was not dead yet. And a doctor was on the scene and tried to help her, and the ICE officer said, get away from her or we'll shoot you. So they shot a woman and then threatened to shoot a man who was trying to help the woman. So if you're telling me that this was just a split-second decision, she might have been saved. But her wife had to watch her bleed out on the ground while a doctor stood by with an ICE officer with a gun in his face. So I don't know what we're talking here.
In that aftermath.
Well, they've spoken to the doctor.
Right. No, yeah. And I think my point is that what transpired after she was shot, did they render aid? Did they allow aid to be rendered to her? Again, this is all part of the picture that Americans are seeing, and they're asking, what's going on here?
Well, they're all fair questions and should all be part of a legitimate investigation. I think that's what the American people would expect. I mean, a lot of people witnessed this. There have been a lot of witnesses on television today. We played some. I saw another interview with another witness who said that this lady in the van was the leader of a convoy that was attempting to impede and obstruct the road where legitimate law enforcement operations were taking place. I would also like to know if that is true, because that's what an eyewitness has said. If that is true, I think one of the questions we have to ask is, why are people believing that it is okay to create vehicle convoys for the purpose of impeding federal law enforcement? My suspicion is it's because they've been told by politicians that it is their responsibility to do so. It is, in fact, a felony to obstruct federal law enforcement activities. If you don't like the immigration laws, that's a legitimate position, but you don't change laws by creating convoys to obstruct law enforcement officers. You call the politicians and ask them to change the laws. Political vigilantism is getting people killed. This lady should not be dead. I hate it that she is dead, because this poor kid, as Anna said, is an orphan. I don't love in any way, shape, or form that someone is dead, but we have to ask ourselves hard questions about why people are putting themselves in these positions. And we've seen it all over the country.
Because they're Americans and they can't stand what they are seeing. I don't think it's.
Does that mean you can impede a law enforcement?
See, that's the thing. That's the thing. That's the thing that MAGA really cannot stand about the left, is that they want so badly to see themselves as independent people and independent thinkers, but they're not. They're not. Everything about them is kiss the ass, kiss the ring, lick the boot, doo-doo-doo. Everything about them is subservience and fucking click shit and I need me a daddy. Everything about them is fucking blindly following. Everything about them is bending over and taking it up the ass in a bad way, not in a pleasurable way. Which, funny, I mean, for as much as they love having fists up their ass, you know, they shouldn't hate the gays so much. But they fucking hate that. They can't fucking stand that. They can't fucking stand that. Because his brain is too tiny and worm-ridden to fathom, oh, these people aren't being... And it's because he himself is told what to think, what to feel, what to do, what to say. And he loves living that way. And he can't imagine somebody else rejecting that kind of life. So he can't imagine, well, why would these people be protesting because they just don't like a thing? How can these people be protesting without being told to protest? He's a fucking idiot.
No, but that wasn't the case on January 6th either. And they were pardoned. And just this week, they were marching down the street to the Capitol again. Why are you shaking your head?
Because this cannot be your go-to.
But no, I'm not saying that.
On January 6th,
I am pro law enforcement.
Democrats said we're pro law enforcement. Today they say they're Gestapo. Which is it? Which is it?
No, I will say the vast majority of Democrats.
Calm down, little bitchy bitch. God, I wish I was at that table. I would have straight up looked at him and said, lower your fucking tone, kid. I would have looked him square in his fucking eye and said, lower your fucking tone, kid. I'll pop the makeup off your fucking prissy ass. God damn.
You're dealing with different law enforcement. These are ICE agents. Who knows what they were doing on that street there? You know, Scott Jennings says all that, you know, they were acting out a lawful whatever they were doing. We don't know. We haven't been told. Some of these people that they're detaining turn out to be American citizens. This woman that they killed was an American citizen. She wasn't an illegal alien. That's different than the Capitol Police trying to stop a riot and an insurrection. This is just disingenuousness on the part of Scott Jennings, but why would we expect anything different from Scott Jennings?
Are pro law enforcement, and we believe that
Is
law
Tim Walz?
enforcement.
He says they're Gestapo.
Let me finish.
He says they're Gestapo.
Scott,
do you agree?
Scott,
do you
let
agree?
me finish. I do not agree. Let me finish. Many Democrats, and the vast majority of them are pro law enforcement. They believe that law enforcement should actually get the training that they deserve and they need. Hold on, I'm not done. Hold on.
You don't know about this guy's
training.
training.
Let me tell you.
Stop implying that he's not training.
In Minnesota,
he was dragged by a car last summer.
In Minnesota, blocks from where this woman was killed was the George Floyd shooting. What happened at the time is the Justice Department entered a consent decree with the Minneapolis Police Department wanting to provide those law enforcement officers training so something like that would never happen again. And Donald Trump's administration completely dismissed that matter. And so now Minneapolis law enforcement officials are not getting the training that they need. Democratic Party is pro-law enforcement. They were pro-law enforcement on January 6th. They didn't issue those pardons.
They call them
They're
the Gestapo, Sochi.
They're pro-law enforcement now.
They call them murderers.
And
they call them Nazis.
Why is it one rule for ICE? What? And why is it another rule for the Capitol Police or the Republican Party? Can you answer that question?
I have the same rule for all law enforcement. I think we should respect all law enforcement.
Has two rules.
You all have select one day a year. One day a year you like the cops.
Well, look,
the other 364 days you call them the Gestapo. That's the Democratic position.
That is not the
Okay, I'm going to stop here. And again, what bullshit from
right
Scott Jennings that one day a year Democrats support law enforcement. It's just ludicrous. Who are the actual Democrats out there who are against law enforcement?
Her name was Renee Nicole Macklin Good. She is, or rather was, the 37-year-old woman, the 37-year-old American citizen who ICE killed yesterday in Minneapolis. She described herself as a poet, a writer, a wife, a mom, and she's being remembered by members of her community as a kind, compassionate, and giving person. But also, since her death, she's been called a professional agitator, a deranged leftist, and a domestic terrorist. And now there's a talk of war between Minnesota and the federal government. So among other things, we got to talk about what actually happened, the fallout and the patterns that we can find, and the violence that's been taking place, and the claims being made to justify it. We're just starting with what actually went down. We've seen multiple videos from different angles, but the main one is this one. You see an agent approach Renee's SUV. He tries to open the door. She backs away. Another officer moves in front of the vehicle. She pulls forward to the right, and then that officer fires 3 rounds at her, including at least twice when many say that it looks like he is clearly outside of the path of the vehicle. The SUV then continues a short way down the street, veering to the left, and crashes into a parked car. And it was about 10 seconds from the moment that the agents exited the truck to shots being fired. And the agent who fired the shots appears to be seen in videos walking around afterwards with no apparent injuries. And this is you had people starting to scream things like,
"You are fucking criminals! You're fucking criminals!"
And you had one woman with blood covering her face reportedly being heard shouting, "You guys just killed my wife." Also, you saw things like when authorities eventually left the scene, you had people yelling and throwing snowballs, agents hitting back with pepper spray and pepper balls. Also last night, thousands gathered at a vigil for the victim and to protest ICE. Right in that is, there have also been protests in other US cities, including New York and Los Angeles. And actually in Minneapolis today, there have been more clashes between protesters and federal agents, with school even being canceled in the city for the rest of the week. And Governor Tim Walz announced that he was issuing a warning order to prepare the Minnesota National Guard, warning protesters to stay peaceful and to not take the bait, arguing that the Trump administration was just looking for an excuse to deploy the military. Right, and he also seemed to compare the current mood and the potentiality of what's going to happen to what happened after George Floyd was murdered, because he was actually killed about a mile from where Renee was killed yesterday.
We saw it after the murder of George Floyd. There's folks that want to cause chaos. There's the disruptors in it. And while the vast majority of those protests were peaceful expressions of their First Amendment rights, there were those that destroyed property and put people at risk. The National Guard is there to make sure that peaceful protests are able to be done, and that those that want to do the destruction are stopped from doing that.
Right, and then notably in his address, he spoke out against federal interference, saying these National Guard troops are our National Guard troops, and also repeating a point that he made the day before.
Well, I said this yesterday, we've never been at war with our federal government.
And of course, with the White House jumping on that to claim that Walz declared Minnesota is at war against the federal government, calling him sick and a dangerous lunatic, possibly insinuating that he intended to pit those troops against federal immigration agents. I mean, you have at least one Republican lawmaker even calling on Trump to arrest Walz over the National Guard announcement. And well, for many, they see this as Walz just talking about using their National Guard to keep a handle on potential protests. I will say it is true that he and other officials are pushing back hard against the Trump administration's version of events, or with Walz urging the public not to believe what he called a propaganda machine and saying that the shooting was both totally predictable and totally avoidable. You also had the Minneapolis police chief noting that there was nothing to indicate that this woman was the target of any law enforcement investigation. And you had Mayor Jacob Frey calling the government's account of Renee's death bullshit, garbage, and saying to ICE,
"Get the fuck out of Minneapolis."
But then with all that, we've got to unpack exactly what the Trump administration has said. But as far as Trump himself, you had him sharing a different clip online where very little can be seen, and saying that Renee was obviously a professional agitator and that she violently, willfully, and viciously ran over the ICE officer. Also saying in an interview with the New York Times, she didn't try to run him over, she ran him over. With him even reportedly having an aide pull the video up on a laptop in an effort to prove his point. You then also had Vice President J.D. Vance presenting it as just a matter of fact that Renee at least tried to run the agent over, which is also not clear from the video. Writing, "Do you think this officer was wrong in defending his life against a deranged leftist who tried to run him over?" Then also had Homeland Security Secretary Ice Barbie Kristi Noem describing the incident as an act of domestic terrorism. With that, saying that she'll ask the Justice Department to prosecute the use of vehicles to block immigration enforcement operations as domestic terrorism. She also claimed Renee had been stalking officers, saying she attempted to run them over and ram them with her vehicle. And with that, painting the agent as a hero who killed her and he used his training to save his life and those of his colleagues. And finally, you had Noem claiming that the officer had been assaulted before, and right with that, you have outlets now identifying him as Jonathan Ross. With Ross actually reportedly being the same officer who was injured by another fleeing driver in a different incident last year. But of course, this is a different situation, and even if you take what the administration is saying at face value, it's worth noting that the DOJ's own use of force policy says that agents may not fire at a moving car that is threatening them unless no other objectively reasonable means of defense appear to exist, which includes moving out of the path of the vehicle. And while ICE and the Homeland Security Department's policy on the use of force also says that officers are authorized to use deadly force only if the officer, quote, has a reasonable belief that the subject of such force poses an imminent threat of death or serious bodily injury, the policy further clarifies that officers should avoid intentionally and unreasonably placing themselves in positions in which they have no alternative to use deadly force. And so that's why you have people like an expert on police use of force at the University of South Carolina saying, the way you evaluate this is you look to see what's the imminent threat to life, and there is none. She's leaving. And saying this is what we call officer-created jeopardy. And also explaining that the first agent to approach the car had escalated the situation, whereas local police officers are generally trained to de-escalate tense confrontations. So you also have people like another expert seeing it as less conclusive, but also arguing that the fact that the agent fired more than once is very significant. Saying if you're able to keep aiming at something that is moving by you, then you have some innate knowledge that it is moving by you and not running over you. But then also with all this, something that's really big is that, this claim that a driver aimed to use their vehicle as a weapon, it's often been used as a justification for fatal law enforcement shootings of otherwise unarmed drivers. Or with, for example, a 2021 New York Times investigation finding that in many cases, the driver was just trying to get away and that some officers, they put themselves in danger and others, they appear to face no danger at all. And now in this second Trump administration, it's possible that we're seeing that with ICE. Just in the past 4 months alone, immigration officers are reportedly fired on at least 9 people in 5 states and Washington, D.C. And very notably, every single one of them were fired on while in their vehicles. And in each case, officials have claimed that agents fired in self-defense, fearing that they'd be struck by the vehicle. And at least one other person besides Renee died as a result. Or with that being with a Mexican immigrant back in September who was shot and killed less than a minute after being pulled over. And you had DHS officials claiming that he had hit and dragged one of the officers with his car and that the officer who shot him was acting in self-defense, though notably, analysis of the video, it has called into question the government's narrative. And when it comes to the government's narrative, it's about more than just these incidents that have or have almost turned deadly. But after Renee's shooting, you had Noam arguing that the incident goes to show that assaults that are ICE law enforcement officers are under every single day. And in his post afterwards, Trump claimed the reason these incidents are happening is because the radical left is threatening, assaulting, and targeting our law enforcement officers and ICE agents on a daily basis. With that, tying into DHS's truly shocking claims that assaults against ICE agents have been up by as much as 1,150% year over year. But very notably there's no public evidence that assaults have actually gone up as dramatically as the government has claimed. In the administration, they've reportedly turned down repeated requests for data backing it up, even as the stat has been used to justify agents using masks and hiding their identities to operate with impunity. Right, an analysis of court records by Colorado Public Radio show only about a 25% rise in charges for assaults against federal officers through mid-September compared to the same time a year ago. And if we look deeper, just like with shootings involving vehicles, there's a pattern that goes back further. During Trump's first term, U.S. Customs and Border Patrol reported a 20% increase in assaults on officers from 2015 to 2016, and then a 73% increase from 2016 to 2017. And those stats were quickly brought up when 2 Border Patrol agents were found injured and unconscious, with one later dying from his injuries, with many jumping to the conclusion that undocumented immigrants were behind it, even though the FBI ultimately found no evidence of that. And what's more, those stats that may have helped shift public opinion, they were probably bullshit. The uptick in alleged assaults seemed to be at least partly driven by a decision to start counting them in the most absurd way possible. I mean, you had a CBP official explaining to The Intercept in 2018 that one incident the year before involved 7 agents who were assaulted by 6 subjects utilizing 3 different types of projectiles: rocks, bottles, and tree branches. And so those numbers, 7, 6, 3, they were multiplied together so it counted as 126 total assaults. Well, we don't know for sure if the same bogus methodology is being used with ICE today. It is connected to where we are right now, including the conversation around Renee's death. And you've got folks like AOC being among the most outspoken in pointing to what happened and what we're hearing to argue that ICE needs to be reined in, saying
ICE has less accountability than virtually any law enforcement agency in the United States. And yet they are some of the most well-funded. They are operating with impunity. And we just saw the murder an American citizen in cold blood in the street.
That's how they're being used.
And despite whatever lies that the president wants to say about what was happening in this, you can see what happened for yourselves.
Right, and actually, as AOC was answering these questions about the Minneapolis shooting, she was approached by a Fox News producer for the Jesse Waters primetime show, asking her to make an appearance. Her response has since racked up millions of views.
He has sexualized me on his show. He has sexually harassed me on his show. He has engaged in horrific, sexually exploitative
That's
rhetoric.
not true, Congresswoman.
It is true. It is true, because he accused me of wanting to quote unquote sleep with Stephen Miller. So why don't you tell me what you think is acceptable to tell a woman? Thank you.
With AOC then later sharing that clip and saying on X, you can either be a pervert or ask me to go on your little show, not both. good luck. And for people out there that don't consume the poison that is Fox News, she is specifically referring to a moment from Fox News' The Five from back in October, where the hosts are responding to a live that AOC did on Instagram where she was encouraging Democrats to make fun of MAGA men and their insecure masculinity, saying that Stephen Miller looked like a clown and adding,
I've never seen that guy in real life, but he looks like he's like 4'10", and he looks like he is angry about the fact that he's 4'10", and he looks like he is so mad that he is 4'10", that he's taking that anger out at any other population possible. Like, laugh at them. Laugh at them.
And with that, you had the Five responding.
Do you think that MAGA men are insulted by AOC?
No, I think AOC wants to sleep with Miller. It is so obvious, and I'm sorry, you can't have him. Miller is the best. I know him well socially, and the man is not overcompensating. Dana, I know when people are overcompensating.
Now also, I should probably know that this is far from the only time that Jesse Waters has made unsavory comments on air, specifically about women, with it sometimes taking the shape of him going after single women for Zohran Mamdani's win in New York City, going on a rant about women with the wrong degree living in the most expensive city in the world who haven't gotten married and had kids, quote, like everybody else. Or you have times like when he said that Harris would be paralyzed by generals who would have their way with her in the White House's Situation Room. But there, he refused to apologize, saying he was just speaking figuratively, not sexually. But maybe the most recent example, aside from AOC, are his comments about Renee Good, right, the victim in the Minneapolis ICE shooting.
The woman who lost her life was a self-proclaimed poet from Colorado with pronouns in her bio. A 37-year-old white woman named Renee Good. The Daily Mail says she leaves behind a lesbian partner and a child from a previous marriage. She was a disruptor, though she considered herself a legal observer. But there's no evidence she had a law degree.
Right, and that earned him a hefty dose of backlash, with people calling him heartless, cruel, shameless, dishonest, bigoted. California state senators saying in the pantheon of psychopath, Jesse Waters is an apex predator. But with all that said, you know, with all the updates that we've seen, all the fallout, the reactions, and wherever the hell this thing is going, I've got to ask you, what are your thoughts, opinions, and reactions to everything we're seeing right now? For me personally, I think the lightest way I can say it is I agree with Ken Jennings, who looks like he posted the prosecute the former regime at every level candidate has my vote in 2028. And while I personally disagree with people that are calling this a justified shooting, I'm just extra disturbed and disgusted, and things I won't say in this video about assholes like Asmongold, whose response to this was rip bozo, and you have the vice president saying that, you know, that everyone's being gaslighting. That is to say, him going after the media for not just regurgitating the administration's propaganda. And, you know, in addition to the anger that I feel, I'm feeling more concerned than ever about the ghouls being transparently ghouls in public. But again, hey, this is the Philip DeFranco Show. Yes, it is a news show, but it's also meant to be a conversation. So whether you agree or disagree with me, or you have some other take, let me hear from you in those comments. And then there's more we got to dive into in just a minute. But first, let me say, you know, turning motivation into productivity, it's not always easy, but that's why I use today's sponsor, Brain.fm. You know, it's not just music, it's audio designed to get your brain into focus mode fast. Instead of playlists that hype you up or distract you, Brain.fm uses science-backed sound patterns that literally help your brain quiet the noise and lock in. Or when I put it on, it feels like someone turned the background chaos down to manageable. Suddenly I actually finish things. It's not just focus, right? There are tracks for deep work, creativity, relaxation, even sleep, all tuned differently to guide your brain where you want it to go. Short bursts, marathon sessions, it adjusts to whatever you're doing. An actual neuroscientist worked on this, not trust me, bro. Into the news, right? More news you need to know. People that are trying to make big money on my other podcasts. And then, I mean, this is unrelated, so I really have no transition, but this is a news show. We got to talk about news. We're getting oil prices down, and we're going to be giving money to Venezuela, which they desperately need. Also, one of the big questions left unanswered is how long is this going to take, with the question weeks, months, a year, to which Trump said, I would say much longer. It's also unclear how the U.S. means to
Why does it have to? Oh my God. After 7 years and I can't use my controller? Come on, bro. Are you even trying, bro? It's weird because it says that shit about we've detected a change in your hardware every time. No, no, you have not detected any changes. There have not been any changes to detect. I preload the shaders because I tried to skip preloading the shaders one time and it made the game keep freezing. So, I don't know. I don't know shit about games, but I know when I preloaded the shaders, it didn't. When I didn't preload the shaders, it did.
Captain, sorry to hear about the civilians, but glad you made it back, sir. Operation Dark Quarry is just outside Mercury, Captain.
Setef Hellas is in Venus atmosphere repairing attack damage. Intel reports it's carrying chemical weapons. Scars and Marines will board for search and destroy. We'll locate the chemunitions and take out the carrier.
Ready to get rigged up, sir? I recommend a light machine gun. They can lay down some heavy fire. Get you out of a pinch.
Okay. Why not?
I pulled the schematic on the Hellas, and I'm set for overwatch. I'll guide you through the enemy ship and help you get back in one piece.
Roger. Beaver, you set?
Burn it. Let's go.
Scars, tower advises. Winds are heavy on your course.
Roger, 1-1.
Check 1-2.
Scar 1-1, you're locked for go.
Roger, we're green.
Launch in 3, 2, 1.
Gale Force winds heavy at 250 Echo. Skull 2, steady at wing. Copy. Heading upstairs.
Damage.
SDF Hellas dead ahead.
Check. Ethan, target is visual, preparing search and destroy for chemical weapon.
We got scouters. They're defending Hellas.
Gotta clear them out before we board.
Coming around. Watch your flank. Raider, we got lightning. Watch your wings.
Copy that.
Can lightning bring us down? Where are we, Brooks? Don't you know? Raider, Hellas is marking engine. They're gonna make a run for it.
Can't lose that ship. Everyone on me.
Hellas air defense is going hot. Avoid those turrets. Heaviest damage is port side. We can touch down there.
Roger. Ethan, scars are port side high. Find us an infill near the armory. Roger, I see it. Get in. Scar 2, hold this perimeter. Engage anything that moves.
Go advise.
Ethan, hangar secured.
Outstanding, sir. Nearest access to the life support system is in the infirmary.
Squad, we'll take control of their life support system and make our way to the armory.
We got chemical weapons aboard. Watch your backs.
Yes, ma'am.
We got louvers.
Man out.
Watch your corners.
No advance door clear.
Lead on fire!
should be close, sir.
Ethan, accessing their network, you're in.
Routing support to your system, sir. Gravity, search and control are yours.
SDF inbound! All clear. Chemicals are in the armory. On me!
This is it. Lock and load.
Go! All clear. Intel reports they're loading the chemicals into the warheads.
I'll get a sample from the armory and we'll destroy the rest of it along with the ship.
Captain, enemies are inbound. Protect that armory.
Copy. Everyone dig in. I'll hack the door.
Start the hack, Reyes.
Proximity hack will open the armory door, Captain.
I'm connected. Ethan, how many inbound?
At least 2 dozen. They've got C6s as well. I can lock down the doors, but it won't hold them long, sir.
Here they come. Get ready.
Fire! I'll get a sample from the armory and we'll destroy the rest of it along with the ship.
Captain, enemies are inbound. Protect that armory.
Copy. Everyone dig in. I'll hack the door.
Start the hack, Reyes.
Proximity hack will open the armory door, Captain.
We're set, Slink. Hit it.
I'm connected. Ethan, how many inbound?
At least 2 dozen. They've got C6s as well. I can lock down the doors, but it won't hold them long, sir.
Here they come. Get ready.
Sample acquired. Plant your charges. Let's make sure they never get a chance to use this shit.
Charges set. Let's move.
Retribution, we're proceeding to exfil.
The house is losing altitude. You need to hurry.
Double time into the hangar base. Let's go.
Ethan, we are clearing the target. Blow the charges.
Sir, charge relays are passed to your cockpit. Get clear and let her rip.
Scars, clear the target. Blowing the charges.
That should get their attention.
Ellis destroyed. One more out of the fight. Form up. Let's go home. Raider to main. Mission accomplished. We're RTB.
Hard copy, Captain. We've got you on radar. Fly safe.
That ship's space dust now, ain't it, sir?
Sato forces have prevented a chemical attack on Earth, destroying a settlement defense front ship carrying the payload. Despite the success, reports indicate that the chemical agent was not completely contained. Our experts tell us that the vacuum of space should render the compound inert, but without the exact makeup of the agent, they cannot say this with complete certainty. The Health Organization announced that relief efforts for off-world colonies are underway. This is Peter Bryan, reporting from Geneva.
Hello, Retribution. Goodbye, Hellas. Hoo-yah!
Set def. You kill them and they're still a threat.
I don't know. Word around the mass is that they were hauling a carrier full of chem weapons.
Oh man, that's a huge payload.
Exactly. Pretty sure the captain just saved half of Earth.
Rough skies out there. Good to see you back in one piece, sir.
SATO forces have prevented a chemical attack on Earth, destroying a settlement defense front ship carrying the payload. Despite the success, reports indicate that the chemical agent was not completely contained. Our experts tell us that the vacuum of space should render the compound inert, but without the exact makeup of the agent, they cannot say this with complete certainty. The Health Organization announced that relief efforts for off-world colonies are underway. This is Peter Bryan, reporting from Geneva.
What's our target, Captain?
Operation Dark Quarry is just outside Mercury, Captain.
The front have been salvaging parts from a scrapyard outside Pluto. They have one destroyer and a small Skelter squadron on station. We deploy now, we can hit the ships and commandeer that salvage. We need all the scrap we can get. That's what it's come down to.
We can't let Sector pull back on these.
I don't think they'll be sharing anytime soon.
Captain, SDF Skelters have already set up a perimeter. Expect contact the minute we punch in.
Roger. Any intel in the scrapyard?
Not a lot of space for aerial maneuvers. It'll
check.
1-2 check.
Scar ones, you're good to go.
Copy that.
Launch in 3, 2, 1.
Set that destroyer at 12. We're visual.
Retribution, hold up. Scars will take it from here.
Roger that, sir. Good hunting.
Skelters are primary. We thin the herd and target that destroyer.
Copy. 1-2 is weapons free. Need to take out more skelters.
Skelters are thinning out. Keep hitting them.
My pleasure. Raider, keep hitting their skelters. Take out the skelters. Couple stragglers left.
Let's mop them up.
Lay into that destroyer.
D8 Cleaver.
Solid copy. Let's get evil, Salt.
Roger, evil.
Second box. Good kill, good kill.
Set that destroyer down.
Nice work, squad.
Sir, be advised, got a few more fighters in the AO.
Roger. Favor, cover me.
You know it.
018.
Take care of that Ajax.
D8 Cleaver.
Missiles out. Got it.
Get that Ajax.
018 Viking Line.
Countermeasures. Flares away.
Ajax down.
Target destroyed.
Gator, how's radar looking?
Sector's almost clear. Heads up for an ace fighter in the battle zone. 2 o'clock low.
Take him, Raider.
Engaging.
Flash, 1 ace. Solid, Raider.
Good shooting, sir. Picture is clear. All SDF vessels have been eliminated. Good shooting out there, Scars.
Relay to Stratcom and get a salvage team in here.
Good call, Reyes. UNSA needs every bit of this.
Let's get in the net, Scars.
We head back to the Rat Ram?
Red squad is on approach.
Copy. All yours, Tower.
You're clear for landing. Stand by for drone lock.
Flaps, gears out, ready baton.
air patrol with you sometime, sir.
It's to combat air patrol.
That would be nice. Get right.
Another job well done, sir. Potential operations on screen when you're ready. Operation Dark Quarter.
ZF Ajax are refueling on the surface of Titan. After the air battle with Olympus Mons, they won't expect us back there. Element of surprise is on our side. Let's move in for a strike.
Back to Titan.
Gotta be done.
Can you try to make it home with us this time?
You were captive for a minute there.
Not my bag.
Too bad. I was gonna promote you.
Don't you dare.
I'll be your eyes for rent, sir. Human vessels, limited combat capability. Primary threat to skeletons and airborne.
Copy, Ethan. ZF almost punched us out up here.
Back, sir.
Damn straight, Agent.
Scar 1, tower advises. Limited visibility and high winds.
Roger, 1-1 check.
Check 1-2.
Scars are locked and ready for launch.
Hit it.
Launch in 3, 2, 1.
Big fog. Tower was right.
We should be in range.
Affirmative. You're just overhead. Marking position on your HUD now.
Eyes on multiple airships. Counting 5.
Clear to engage. Line them up.
Get that Ajax!
Fighters approaching hot.
Salt?
Confirmed. Skelter's incoming.
Raj, let's give me. Countermeasures.
Enemy threat 65.
Countermeasures.
Incoming missile. 20 minutes.
skelters.
Threats. Bogey, 1 o'clock.
Bogey, 1 o'clock.
Enemy lock detected. Warning. Damage. Incoming missile. Enemy lock broken.
Shoot down those skelters, Raider!
20 minutes until
Focus on the skelters!
All skelters accounted for. Scars are clear. Engage their Ajax.
incoming missile. Caution. Damage.
Copy that.
Welcoming party.
Let's introduce ourselves.
Flares away.
Take care of that Ajax!
We still got bogeys. Let's dust them.
Keep hunting that 8 skelter!
One down, one to go.
Missiles remaining.
Don't think that ace is taken care of yet.
Three
He's
missiles
bugging out.
remaining.
Ace skelter still in the AO.
Second ace is toast.
Ethan, we clear?
Affirm. Ace is eliminated. Good shooting.
We're clear. Station secure. Thanks for the assist, Ethan.
All in a day's work, man.
All scars RTB, back to the ret.
Tower is ready for traffic. Ethan out.
Tower, this is 1-1. We're on approach.
Roger. Jackals are clear for landing.
1-1.
1-2 inbound.
Line up for drone assist, Captain.
Here's out for baton.
Lock is good, 1-1. Welcome back.
Way to give those SDF bandits a taste of their own medicine, Captain. I wonder what happened to the civilians working in that reviewing
Jackpot squared away, Captain. Scans confirm 0 active targets. Operation Dark Quarry is just outside Mercury, Captain.